We think we know when history began, but the Earth remembers differently. In 1872, on the quiet shore of Lake Winnipesaukee, New Hampshire, a drilling team found something that shouldn't exist, an object buried too deep for human hands to have placed. It was an oval stone, carved with precision, bearing unfamiliar symbols. It looked man-made, but it came from a layer thousands of years older than the first settlements in North America. Official science treated it as a curiosity. Yet, this single object began to shake the comfortable timeline of civilization. The discovery took place during the construction of a fence. Workers drilled into compact clay at a depth of 2 meters and hit a solid stone. It was dark quartzite, perfectly polished. The object passed through the hands of Seneca Ladd, the landowner, then entered the archives of the New Hampshire Historical Society, where it remains under catalogue number 187223L. Stratigraphic analysis suggested an age of at least 6,000 years, long before local tribal cultures appeared. In 1901, Greek sponge divers near the island of Antikythera found a Roman shipwreck. Among broken statues and pottery, they lifted a corroded bronze lump. When cleaned, it revealed gear teeth. It was stored in the National Archaeological Museum of Athens under number X15087. The wreck dated to about 70 BCE. At first, scientists thought it was a simple navigation tool, but early X-rays in 1971 showed more than 30 gears hidden inside. In 2005, a CT scan confirmed that the device could predict eclipses and planetary movements. The gears were made with precision unknown to ancient craftsmen. The bronze was mixed with tin in perfect ratio. No tool marks typical of hand filing were found. The mechanism used a differential system similar to clockwork from the 14th century. Nothing else from that era matches it. Archaeologists tried to link it to Archimedes, but the style was unique. Some believe it came from a lost workshop at Rhodes. Others think it was a copy of older designs. No one knows why such knowledge disappeared. In 2020, digital modelling proved it worked as an analogue computer. Official science calls it an anomaly. Independent researchers call it a trace of forgotten intelligence. The mechanism still lies behind glass, silent, turning the idea of ancient technology into a question that no one can close. In 1938, near Baghdad, workers uncovered small clay jars while digging foundations. Each jar held a copper cylinder and an iron rod. The objects were catalogued in the Iraq Museum as items from the Parthian period, around 200 BCE. They looked ordinary until German archaeologist Wilhelm Koenig examined them. He suggested they could generate electricity when filled with acid or vinegar. Officially, batteries were invented in the 18th century. The claim sounded absurd, but tests proved it worked. Each vessel was about 15 centimetres high, sealed with asphalt. When replicas were made and filled with citric acid, they produced nearly 1 volt of power. The results were published in 1940. Some scientists proposed they were used for electroplating gold onto silver, a technique unknown in that era. Others argued it was a religious container, the metal parts symbolic only. No consensus formed. The clay type matched production near Ctesiphon, yet the iron showed smelting patterns from Anatolia. The mixture of regions added confusion. Later chemical studies revealed copper corrosion consistent with repeated acid contact. That made the energy theory harder to dismiss. During the Iraq conflict, the original artifacts disappeared. Replicas remain in European museums. Researchers still argue if ancient people truly harnessed electricity, or if we are simply misunderstanding their tools. The question stands open. How many other modern ideas are only rediscoveries of forgotten experiments? In 1936, a couple walking near Red Creek, Texas, noticed a wooden handle embedded in rock. When they split the stone, a metal hammerhead appeared sealed inside. The concretion was dated by surrounding material to more than 100 million years old. The hammer itself looked modern, with a smooth surface and perfect balance. It should not have existed in that layer. The object was sent to the Creation Evidence Museum in Glenrose, where it is kept under catalogue London Artefact. The head is 15 centimetres long, made of iron with traces of chlorine. Unlike any natural corrosion, the handle, partly petrified, is composed of ancient wood species. Tests in the 1980 seconds showed the metal contained 96% iron, 2% chlorine, and 1% sulfur pure composition, impossible without advanced smelting. The surrounding stone matched Lower Cretaceous sandstone. Scientists tried to explain the anomaly as concretion forming around a modern hammer dropped into soft sediment, but the full fossilization contradicted that. The wood's cell structure showed partial replacement by silica, a process that takes thousands of years. Alternative researchers claim it is evidence of pre-human technology. Geologists remain cautious, noting that minerals can trap newer objects under pressure. No final study resolved the contradiction. The hammer remains sealed, its maker unknown. Each test deepens the same conclusion. If the dating is correct, someone was forging metal when dinosaurs walked the earth. In 1929, researchers cataloguing documents in Istanbul's Topkapi Palace found a fragment of a world map drawn on gazelle skin. It was dated 1513 and signed by Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis. At first glance, it looked like an early nautical chart, but the details caused confusion. The coastline of South America was accurate to degrees impossible for 16th century navigation. Most strikingly, the map showed Antarctica without ice. Official discovery of that continent happened 300 years later. The admiral claimed he compiled the chart from older sources, some allegedly from the Library of Alexandria. Modern cartographic analysis confirmed that the map uses spherical projection technology introduced only in the 18th century. The accuracy of longitude implies access to advanced instruments or aerial observation, neither known at that time. In the 1960 seconds, U.S. Air Force cartographers compared the map's Antarctic section with seismic surveys. The mountain ranges match those beneath today's ice cap. No known expedition could have charted that in antiquity. Some scholars say the resemblance is coincidence. Others suspect it was based on ancient maps from a lost maritime civilization. The animal skin was carbon dated to the early 1500s. Authentic, yet its data source remains unexplained. The Turkish archives keep the fragment sealed under controlled humidity. Every decade, new digital analysis repeats the same result. Whoever first mapped those coasts knew the planet better than any sailor of that age. In 1898, excavators in the Saqqara necropolis in Egypt found a small wooden object among tomb offerings. It looked like a bird carved from sycamore wood, with wings and a tail, but no legs. It was catalogued in the Egyptian Museum, Cairo, under number 6347. The tomb dated to around 200 BCE. Decades later, engineers noticed its aerodynamic shape. When reconstructed, it behaved like a glider. Official Egyptology called it a toy or a ritual symbol of the soul, but measurements said otherwise. The wings had a perfect dihedral angle of 7 degrees. The body balance point matched the design of modern sailplanes. Tests with replicas showed short, stable flight when thrown by hand. Hieroglyphs found nearby mentioned the gift of Thoth, master of the air. No evidence of similar models existed in other tombs. In 1972, Egyptian aeronaut Khalil Masiha tested scaled models with added stabilizers. The result was flight range exceeding 30 meters. This revived debate on whether ancient Egyptians understood principles of lift and balance. Critics argued coincidence. Proponents cited knowledge of geometry in temple design. Carbon analysis confirmed ancient origin. The object's paint contained resins not used for toys. Its symmetry suggested deliberate engineering. To this day, the Saqqara bird rests behind glass, light as a feather, heavy with questions about how much early science Egypt truly possessed. In 1938, a Chinese expedition led by Chi Pu-te explored the Bayan Kara Ula Mountains near the Tibetan border. Inside small caves, they found rows of stone discs half buried in the dust. Each measured about 30 centimetres across with a hole in the centre and fine spiral grooves etched on the surface. In total, 716 discs were documented. They were stored at Beijing Academy of Sciences, though later many vanished from records. The caves also contained skeletal remains of small humanoid beings. Initial examination called the discs primitive musical instruments. later microscopic study revealed that the spiral lines were microscopic characters, carved with precision similar to laser etching. Translation attempts spoke of beings who came from the clouds and could not return. Official archaeology dismissed the story as myth, yet the stone's composition complicated matters. Granite mixed with cobalt, quartz, and traces of unusual magnetism. Spectrographic tests in the 1960 seconds showed piezoelectric properties, as if they could store electric charge. The surface wear suggested extreme age, around 10,000 years. Skeptics claim it is a hoax. No one has seen the full collection since the Cultural Revolution. A few fragments reappeared in Moscow in 1994, analysed and confirmed to be ancient but of unknown purpose. The mountains remain silent, holding whatever truth those discs once carried. Maybe they belong to forgotten travellers, or maybe they prove that the story of humanity begins far earlier than we dare to admit. In 1894, gold miners in the Ural Mountains unearthed fragments of carved wood preserved in peat. When assembled, the pieces formed a tall, human-like figure covered in geometric lines and faces stacked one above another. The object became known as the Shigir Idol. It was displayed in the Sverdlovsk Regional Museum under catalogue 1894-1. For decades it was thought to be only a few thousand years old. Then radiocarbon tests in 2015 gave a different result, about 12,000 years. Older than the pyramids, older than agriculture itself. The idol stood over 5 metres tall before parts decayed. Made from larch, its surface was carefully shaped with stone tools. The carvings showed repeating zigzags, chevrons, and mask-like faces. These patterns resemble no known culture of that period. The peat that preserved it came from the early Holocene, untouched since its burial. Scientists tried to link it to hunter-gatherer ritual art, but the complexity of symbols implied abstract language. Microscopic analysis revealed it was coated with ochre, perhaps as protection or meaning. No similar artifact has been found. Some say it represents ancient cosmology, a message carved by a forgotten northern civilization. Others insist it's only decoration. Either way, the Shigir idol forces one question that no test can resolve. How did people at the end of the Ice Age think like sculptors of the future?